Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I apologize for the setup here. I don't know how it's going to sound. I don't know how it's going to look. I'll probably get distracted and miss something. I'm currently sitting in a hotel room after completing the week on site at a client, doing a Halo implementation or starting a Halo implementation. Still have a lot of work to do. I'm going to do a video about the sales to projects process. We're going to go through a couple scenarios. We're going to build a custom workflow from scratch. We're going to try to keep things simple. But just to showcase the possibilities of what can be done and how you would actually do it. I did another video like this. It was focused around the out-of-the-box configuration, what Halo wanted you to do, or not necessarily wanted, but what Halo built out of the box so that you can see what a workflow in their mind would look like. And as commented by someone on Reddit, it's not very functional necessarily. The idea there was to showcase what it would look like and not necessarily an example of what you should be doing. So let's give me a second. We're going to share my screen and we are good to go. So you should be able to see my Halo that I currently have open. This Halo is beta version. It's actually pre-beta version. So you see something, number one, that may not exist yet. It is coming. We are on 2.131.2. And then, of course, if something doesn't work, it's because it hasn't been tested yet. Like we may run into a lot of bugs. Current beta is 2.130. We're actually running 1.31 and got a lot of cool features, but also lots of bugs probably. And so we'll see how well this works as we go through it. So number one, I'm just going to recap really quickly. This will only take a few minutes to showcase what it would look like if you were to follow their process end to finish within Halo normally, just to do a comparison about what it looks like and what we're looking to accomplish. I did make some changes to this version of Halo, so there are a couple differences than what you'll see on your side. Number one, I removed the opportunities area, so you can no longer get to it anymore. It's just hidden. And number two, I created two custom areas, one for sales, which is really outside sales or whatever you guys call it for your leads, and the other is opportunities or inside sales, procurement, and so on. So in this case, we're going to start from sales here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new ticket, and this will do as a lead. I made a couple other changes. In this case, I'm hiding the choose ticket type. This ticket type is locked into a lead, and so I have to choose a customer, or I can do a new contact, which is a default setting I flipped as well. And I can show you where I made all these changes if you want to. But in this case, we're just going to go through right now and populate some information here about the lead that's coming through, new managed services. And that drop down that popped up is actually a template it can apply automatically. We're going to do a new managed services request. And we're going to say looking to support 5 agents and 1 server. And let's go through and set potential value, 15,000 a year, 31. We don't need to do tags and we don't need to necessarily do labels, but this is a lead. So we'll do it as a cold label right now. And let's go submit that ticket. So this is the original opportunity that comes through as a lead. You can see now that I've got one just popped up here, looking to support 5 agents. And then we go through the process of either claiming that opportunity. And so now it's no longer unassigned. It just disappeared. We go through and qualify that opportunity to verify that it has all the information that we need. What kind of information? New managed service, 3 to 5. They heard about us through Google search, and they were in the energy industry. And these are database lookups that it populates the Rising Tide website, which is wrong, and also the LinkedIn URL, which is obviously wrong as well. And so those automatically populate, which you can see company details found here. But you can do some lookup and make that cool and actually more accurate if we want to. And then we add some notes to say, seems like a decent client, and so forth. Let's go forward and move this into a qualified state. Now, at this point, we've determined, yep, they're a good client. They're actually an opportunity at this point. So we're going to go ahead and convert them. Notice right now I'm on a lead workflow. It's a lead type of ticket. Convert to op. I've simplified a lot of this process in some of the configurations and default settings that I did. So again, some of these things, we didn't choose a lead. We didn't choose existing customer. That was defaulted when I changed it. And I'll go through where that is in a moment. Let's just go forward with the rest of the what Halo set up out of the box and what we can be doing. So we now have this converted to an opportunity. The status is new again. It went from new to claimed to qualified back to new. It's now converted to opportunity. It's on the opportunity project and scoping. And actually, if I close this out, so this is 2332. If I close out this, look at today's plan, notice I don't see it here at all, right? So it's no longer in the leads section or the sales section that I had created. If I go to the opportunities, it'll now show up over here in the one of these things. Let's go to well, let's see if I can find it. Oh, duh. I'm searching for the ticket number, and obviously the ticket number is not being displayed, so I can't do that. But it's really right here on the top. And I think if I'm in this week's plan, which is where I started off in, or today's plan, it'll be right here, the rising tide, 15,000, probability is 0. So let me go up into that, and let's go through the process now of the opportunity scoping. So what this did is with the custom areas that I had created, and removing the opportunity area, we actually have, if you have different teams doing each, they can work out of their different areas and a ticket moves off and onto the other. This simulates something like having an external CRM or something like that, something like Salesforce or whatever. We're gonna go through and do contact made. I contacted them via email. Here are my notes. Sent an email to follow up on final details or something like that. And now we can move forward. Now, in reality, this is moving the workflow forward. So this wouldn't really work necessarily because there still has to be like initial conversation that happens before we're ready to then scope the project. So we'll need additional email field or something like that. This is areas where the built-in native Halo workflow may not work out of the box. The idea was to focus on what is possible, not really what you should be doing. And I know I've said that. I'll probably be saying it again a few other times as we go through this. We're going to go through to the next step of the workflow. Each of these buttons, one of them pushes them through to the next stage. We're going to go through and scope the project. This is what's going to push it through. Scope is going to it's going to be when we expect to start work on this project. We'll do it November 1st, and we'll choose a template of new managed service, which populates the statement of work based off of the template from the new managed service. We're going to go ahead and save that, which will drive the workflow forward. The next step is to prepare the quote. This will populate a bunch of custom fields that will then get used in the actual quotation itself. And so that's why it's called prepare quote, is because these custom fields are what actually drives the PDF template. So we're going to go through and save, and we're going to continue moving this through. Now this will look very familiar to you if you've gone through the process and seen my other video. I'm going through this fairly quickly so that I can go back and show differences on what we just did and what is possible. Here we'll do new managed services, and we'll add a product of some kind of managed service. I'm not even sure what managed services exist here. So let's say we've got a recurring workstation, and we'll say we've got 5 of them, and we have a server we need. So let's just do one of you, and let's select that. Okay, now this looks like it's actually hardware, I think. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter what the item actually is. In this case, we can turn it into a recurring item, or we can select recurring items or whatever. The point is to get to the point where we can build that quote and see how it looks. And then from there, a project. So we're going to set the PDF template to formal proposal. This is the built-in PDF template that it likes to use. And we're going to go forward and save this. At this point, we still need something that's linked to a project in order to build that out. Let's come here and let's see. This is a serialized workstation. It's not tied to any project here. So we're actually going to come in here and see if we have a project template for a workstation install or something like that. PC laptop installation. We're going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to go to this item. And now I'm going to go take a look and see if we have a template for a server install, which it doesn't look like we do. So I'm just going to say set up new users hardware, and we can turn that into a template that's going to be there. We want to add some recurring items. So let's take a look at our product catalog real quick, because we're going to want to use this anyways for when we do the other demonstration. We want to just make sure what we're doing. Implement new managed service. This is labor stuff. do we have recurring items listed? Let's see what we have here. We do have managed services charge, and we've got some other things that we can potentially rely on. For this case, let's go take a look at the managed services charge. We can see that it is under the group recurring items. It is a recurring product for yearly. We're going to change that to monthly. Most MSPs do monthly billing. And then we're not going to do a project template, but we could if we had like an agent install, deploy agent, set up new client, onboarding, something like that. Onboarding new customer, perfect. We're going to go ahead and tie it to that. And then we have is a contract selected. So we're going to show you what that looks like as well. Let's go ahead and add this to the quote real quick before we do anything else. We're going to add a product, search for the managed service charge, and we're going to say we are looking for, I double clicked on it and I should not have done that. I meant to say 6. We're going to have 6. It's going to be 5 workstations, 1 server. It'll be 6 quantity of managed service charge. And we don't have a price or whatever, but we can say the price is $150 per. And so this is going to be our monthly recurring costs, or that the customer is going to have to pay, plus the ongoing. And so we can see that here as we go. So let's go ahead and save that. And then we're going to go through, and I think at this point we're ready to move forward with building that quote and sending it out. So most of the time we want to see what it looks like, generate PDF. A lot of this functionality we're going to repeat as well when we actually change the flow of the process. But essentially we've gotten to the point where the lead comes in, we've qualified that lead, we've turned it into an opportunity, we hand it off to sales to actually make that sell. And in this case, that quote has been created, and now we're going to be previewing that quote before we send it to the client so we can see what it looks like. Here we can see the prepared for rising tide. We've got the executive summary. We have the acorn, the statement of work, and the proposal as well, broken out between monthly and one-time costs on the PDF, as well as the signature. And then finally, our terms and services are at the bottom. Okay, and so we can see what this looks like from the quoting perspective to verify that it looks good and it's ready to be sent. At this point, we're going to go ahead and send this quote. So we're breaking this up. This is multiple stages that we've gone through at this point. Number one, we have the lead that was created, and then we converted that to an opportunity. Now it's in a different person's hands. We have the opportunity, and then the opportunity now requires a quote. So that's the quote that we're now sending to the client. It's going to require approval. I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to link this. I'm going to open this link in the self-service portal, which will make me give me the option to accept or reject this quote at this point. Keeping in mind that all this stuff can be branded. Here's the PDF exactly the same way we saw it before, and the ability to sign it at the end using the accept or reject buttons. We're going to hit the accept button, and I'm going to do Mendy. And we are going to then sign this and submit. All right, at this point, the quote is going to go through its signature process. We can just refresh this page, and we should see that the quote has been accepted by using the thumbs up icon. We can tell it's been accepted here. And from that, we can go through and create the sales order. On the sales order, we should see all the items that were requested. And from there, we can see whether we want to create a project or add to project and create child, and so on and so forth. So in this case, we want to go through, we want to create the project to do the onboarding. We want to move forward and create the project to install the server, and we want to create the project to install the workstation at this point. Now that we did that, we want to go forward and order the equipment for the, yeah, this looks like it's part of the bug that we're seeing because this CSS is all wrong. Let's say we order from Dell, and we need 5, I think is the correct number, and we're going to deliver it to us. So it's going to go through our stock and inventory. And then we're going to go create another PO here. And this time we can choose, we should be able to choose the existing order, but it seems like it may not be working, probably because I haven't actually converted myself to a customer yet. But let's see. Yeah, that part doesn't seem to be working. Excusing the bugs that we're running into with the new version that we're on. We're going to go through ahead and move forward with that. And then finally, we'll create this contract that are over here. And so we need a customer set, right? We don't have a customer at this point. So at some point of this process, we're going to have that the opportunity needs to be converted into an opportunity that's on a real client. Remember, when we first created the lead, we chose a new contact, and there was no customer created for it or anything like that. So if we go back to the opportunity, number one, we should see that the quote was accepted. And then number two, we should also see the POs that were created, I think, although they may not show up until after the email goes out. And so in this case, what I want to do is just come down here. I want to create a new customer, which would populate with all the information that I had provided in the past. We can update it as well, verify it's all good, and then move forward and save that customer inside of Halo. So this is the process from lead to opportunity. Opportunity turns into a real customer at that point. And then we can go and refresh this page. And now we can see that it's an actual customer and user. And so now I can come into the sales order. I may have to re-edit the sales order. I don't know if the sales order updates. Let's go ahead and try that. We'll do Mendy from Rising Tide and then save that. Ideally, before the sales order is created, you're actually converting from an opportunity to a client. You're actually creating the client on the opportunity level prior to the sales order being created. And so now we can see that it's actually tied to my real user and it's not just plain text here. Let's go forward and create the contract. Now it's linked to the Rising Tide customer. You can go ahead and generate an agreement reference based off of the type of agreement we're selecting. We're going to say it's starting today. Labor period is monthly. Come on. There we go. With a no end date. And then we're going to do unlimited hours. And that's basically all we're going to say. We're going to do it's a gold package and it's a managed agreement. And so we're basically going through and creating the agreement on the fly over here. We're going to go through and save that. Now we have the contract linked. We've got the project linked. We have the recurring invoice here. We're going to go ahead and create a new recurring invoice. And then we can go ahead and add that item on there automatically from 6. We can choose it to be linked to a site. We're going to select the agreement we just created. And we're going to go ahead and set a schedule to run. That is not where it should be. Is that another bug or a feature? Let's go and save this real quick. And we can come back to the schedule later. It could be you don't even want to bill it yet at this point. There's definitely some CSS bugs that are happening here on this version. So that's fun. We're going to come here. Let's see if we set schedule again. We're in the new template. It's asking to create a new ticket template instead of an actual schedule. So that's interesting. More bugs on this version of Halo. It is very early, so we're expecting to have it. Let's go take a look at the POs. So when we have the PO and we want to order that hardware, we can go ahead and request approval to make sure that the PO is ready to go. So that can be an internal approval. Or what we can do if we turn off the approvals, there's a setting to disable that so that approval is not required. Let's see if we can find that setting real quick. It's under purchase orders probably. And then we can, one of these things will be enable approval process and purchase orders. We can turn that off, turn it on. We can say, we can require it to be approved prior to syncing, or we can just turn it off and we can choose what kind of approval we want. And then we can close this out. Let's go back to the purchase order and we'll refresh it. And we now have the ability to just send it directly to a distributor or supplier. You can see the PDF of the purchase order that we had created. And it's very simple. It's asking for a workstation 55, and we can send it over to someone, the vendor, to actually say, can you please place this order? Okay. If we do that, we go back to the opportunity. What we'll see here, or should see here, is that the opportunity has been updated to include the email that has been sent out. And we can come in here and we can see the actual email, including the subject line of what's going on. Now I can go back to the other one and I can do the exact same thing for the other PO that was created. So 1 is 1, 2 is 2, here's the server, the other was the workstation. We can send that out and continue moving forward. So this is, again, the entire process overall that we're going through. Some of this wasn't covered on the last video. The idea, I think we stopped the project. At this point, we're going to go through and say, well, we received the stock on the server. It's going to go into the HaloPSA warehouse stock room. Let's say quantity of 1. Apparently, I ordered 11 servers. And now we can asset tag and serial number the stock that was created. Apparently, because that item was so small, that text window is so small, I actually added 11 and not just 1 to the order for servers. So that's pretty expensive. And then if we go to this purchase order, we can receive stock. We got 55. Again, we couldn't see the window, and so it was a bit large, but we can go ahead and save that. We can auto pick, and it will auto pick asset tags and serial numbers for it. Ideally, the serial number you're actually scanning in from the hardware. For other reasons and purposes, when you get the stock management and control, we may talk about it, but probably not in this video. Now that the items have been delivered, we can go back to the opportunity. We can actually see those items are marked delivered on the opportunity as we go through. We should see that. Although I don't know if it's going to show all of them. Let's go ahead and close this out. Let's close this out. Let's look at the sales order, refresh this. We can see we've got 5 reserved here, 1 reserved here, 0 consigned at all. We've got the recurring invoice and a contract linked, and we've got the projects linked for them all. If you go back to the opportunity real quick, we actually now have a projects tab. And so we can see the onboarding new customer project, and we've got 2 project tasks for setting up the user hardware or laptop installation. If we go into the project itself, we can see that the project has 3 tasks here, and we have the statement of work that came across. So this is all linked through at this point. And we've got in the project tasks, we can come here and we can see the individual products that have come through serialized. We can consign those items. Let's say we got 55 available, reserved 5. We're going to go ahead and save that. And we're going to choose those asset tags, or we can browse the store and pick 5 of these to be consigned and save. And now we've got 5 consigned. We have the consignment document created, marking that it's here. And if we go back to the sales order and refresh, we should see that as consignment 3 correctly. Okay, so this is basically like the project side of it, like how you can manage the project. The project is manageable from the opportunity. We can see all the related projects or tasks for that opportunity, and so on and so forth. And those custom fields, when they're set up to, will translate across. So that's the existing flow in Halo. I haven't touched anything at all, but some of that can be a bit clunky. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through like adjusting some of this workflow, maybe building a brand new one, and think about like how we can streamline some of this so that we don't have to go through as many clicks to do it. So number one, first thing I'll say is like, when we're going through a brand new opportunity of an existing client, we can skip half of it, right? We had 2 parts to this. We had the leads and we had the sales opportunity. In this case, because I'm doing a brand new client, I'm going to be in the an existing client. I'm going to be in the opportunity section. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit the new button. And now I'm under existing customer. I'm going to choose Mendy, Rising Tide. And from there, I'm going to go and create, upgrade server or something else, network and 5 workstations. So we're going to do an entire network refresh and all computers and servers. Okay, so then we've got the potential value. We can populate the same information. We can say the expected date is by the end of the month because I'm crazy. We could say it's a hardware opportunity, and we're going to go forward and submit. So now I'm basically done. So here's the thing. Number one is, do I need contact made when I'm an existing customer? Probably not. Like I don't necessarily need to do contact, especially if I'm already speaking to the customer from the lead when this happened. You know what? Even when it's a brand new client, I probably don't need the contact made because it had already happened, right? So if your handoff to the sales guys when the opportunity is created is already when a customer happened or when customer communication happened, you may not need to speak to them again. You may just need to talk or meet internally. And so we can either create a new button or we can get rid of it completely. What I'm going to do is we're going to go to the configuration tab and we're going to close all these things to the right. And we're going to go and start building stuff out. So let's go to the workflow. And maybe I actually like this opportunity and scoping workflow for some reason. I'm just going to clone it to see so I can play with it. In this case, will be new opportunity, or we can actually call it quick opportunity workflow. Or we don't need to use the word workflow because we know it's a workflow. And now we're going to come around and we're going to say edit, and we don't need this contact made, but we do want the scope project, right? So we're going to come here and we're going to swap contact made with a allow actions. I always do that. And then scope project right there. And then we're going to move that from, we're going to bypass scope project and move it. Well, you know what? I'm just going to delete this step. There's no reason to keep it. We're actually going to take this reopen and we're going to move this from qualified to scope project. So now we're just bypassing this stage. And we're going to do is we're going to bring back that square line that we had because we want to keep things nice and even if we can. I actually don't even remember what it looked like, but we're gonna come out here and we're gonna come out here to make it look like that. And then at this point, I don't need this one. I can just delete that. And then we can edit this. We can say this is the start of it. And we can come up here and we're gonna allow action lost at that point. So we can cancel it if we want to. And if we lost, then we can move it to closed at that point. We can go ahead and save this. And so now we have this other step here that we can straighten out and bring down here like that, and bring this down here like that, and then just drag that up to try to keep that a little cleaner like that. Okay. And then at this point, we have our updated workflow in place. We've removed the contact client or made contact or something like that. We still have the prepare quote and the raise quote. We still have those two steps because we don't necessarily want to prevent them from being able to change or being able to prepare the quote and provide all that information that's necessary. But if you're in a situation where you don't need that information, you're doing a different type or PDF template, then you can just remove those steps. You don't need to prepare quote if you're not using that in a PDF template. So we're going to go through and actually do some more stuff. We're going to delete this stage real quick, and this will become one. I actually don't know if this will all renumber itself, so we may have to go back and redo all of them. But for intents and purposes, like I think we should be able to get to a point where it doesn't matter. And now I'm going to flip my workflow to quick opportunity. Quick opportunity. Okay. So now I have this new opportunity that I'm creating, and I'm just going to come in, and my first step is going to be scope project at that point. I set the expected start date. I set my template of this statement of work, and I come in here and I make some changes to it. Okay. Now this dropdown is all very nice and good, but let me show you something about how it works because it's actually not very great. If we go and take a look at the ticket type, okay, so we're going to do a couple things here. We're going to go to ticket types, and we're going to improve our workflow. We're going to change our workflow because we've just modified it. And we're going to say from now on, it's actually under opportunity types. And we're going to come here and we're going to say defaults. And we're going to change the workflow from opportunity product scoping to quick opportunity. There we go. And save. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to say, we're going to show you this field. It's SOW templates. We're going to see how it looks. So if we come down here and we look for that statement of work, SOW templates, let's see if we can search for, where are you? So it's actually not a ticket level field, it's an action level field. So let's go to sales and we'll go to actions at that point. And then we'll look at the action we're dealing with, the scope project, right? So let's do project scope, look at the field list, and here we've got SOW templates. So this is a custom field that exists. And you can't really control or impact another custom field just by selecting the first custom field, or one custom field doesn't directly impact another. So there are two ways you can do this. Number one is through database table lookups. Database table lookups will populate based off a value or result from a SQL statement. One field can impact changing another field, something like this. The problem is, or the thing is that database table lookups doesn't actually allow you to update or set a rich text field. And the statement of work is obviously a rich field, not just a memo or a note. So the only other way you can do this is through ticket rules. Let's go take a look and see what that looks like. Under ticket rules, we can go down and sure enough, we can see that we've got apply proposal default or apply default SOW. If you come in here and look at how this looks, this is a little ridiculous. So again, this is not meant to be functional, right? The idea is to show you what's doable and make it look nice and give you some ideas for insights. But this is not something you can manage because this is raw HTML in a single line input. So if I come in here and I edit this, this is what it looks like. Okay, good luck trying to manage the HTML into this line that's thousands of characters long, right? It's just not going to work. So we don't have to use that. Something else that we can do is the ability to control with canned texts, right? And so we can create canned text groups, and those canned text groups can contain the scope of work. So let me Control A, Control C this. We're going to go back to our configuration and go to canned text. And then we can we're going to first create a group. So we'll come here and we'll create a group of SOWs. Okay. And then we'll go down here and we'll go back to our canned text and we will create a new canned text. And this will say new managed service. And we'll see the group is SOWs. And then we'll paste the SOW in here. Restrictions, we can say restrict by team, and then we can restrict that to specifically the leads or the sales team or something like that. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to leave it global, but you could absolutely restrict the canned text so that it can't be seen and doesn't get in the way. All right. Now that we have that, I'm just going to actually go back in. I wonder if there's no clone option. So I'm just going to create a new one and we're going to do switch install. Okay, and we're going to move this back into SOWs and we're going to create some statement of work. Statement of work is going to be configure switch, LAN, and VLAN interfaces, set up trunk ports and access ports, and then we will configure wireless VLANs, configure VoIP LAN with LDP, and then deploy and test switch. And that'll be the statement of work that we're going to do for right now. But you can create multiple statements of work with the full thing that you need as canned text. At that point, let's go and we're going to remove this field from the action because it's not necessary. And we're going to use the canned text instead. So we're going to come back here. We're going to do scope and we're going to pull that field out like this. Okay. Now, in addition to statement of work, we can also add like a private note. We can add time taken. So we can really track a lot of various other things. We can add primary agent. The reassign will allow us to do that. We can do additional agents, so we can add other people that should be responsible for this project at this point. And we can also add things like, I don't know, there's any field that we want in order to help collect information or manage this project. So for right now, we'll do additional agents, we'll do start date and statement of work. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, I'm going to X this out, I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to hit that scope project button again. So now I've got an additional agents field and I can multi-select. I'm going to say me and Carrie are the ones responsible for this project because I'm the one quoting it, but Carrie is the one who's going to take that project for success. They're going to be the project manager or even the technician. You can add multiple additional agents here. And the idea of doing that is because then you can build a view of projects that started from your quote. So you don't lose the visibility into the opportunity because your view is keyed off of the additional agents, including you, essentially. Let's say we're going to start this project next week, and now we need to enter our statement of work. So we're going to go ahead and insert can text. We'll go to SOWs, and just hit the new manage install, and then we're going to hit a couple lines, and we're going to go ahead and populate it with a switch install as well. Okay, and they just pile on top of each other. So that way you can easily just build out a statement of work based off of the existing SOW can text. It's pretty simple. Not quite as fancy as a dropdown of a custom field impacting another custom field, but it is very much more doable and easier to manage by using the can texts. Let's go ahead and save that. And then we can go forward and prepare this quote at this point. The prepare quote has a bunch of other options to do the exact same kind of functionality. So we had one apply default proposal details, and then it'll just populates the 4 custom fields. And again, it uses the exact same rules that we were talking about before. So it's not really feasible or functional to do that in a live system. So let's go take a look at the ticket rules real quick, if I can find it on the screen, because apparently I'm going blind. Here it is. And if we look at the new managed service apply proposal default, we can come in here and see that we're impacting 1, 2, 3, 4 fields that are all the same raw HTML in that tiny string window. So not really helpful for us right now, and not something that's very functional. Now, the difference of what this is and what we did before is that this field is actually applying a template across 4 different custom fields simultaneously, as opposed to before, we had can text. We'd have to go to each one and enter a can text for each one, or set a default or something like that, something that we can't do normally. This is the easiest functional way, as from a experience standpoint, it's the easiest way to just apply the text across the board. Halo will be producing or releasing or upgrading, whatever you want to call it, the database lookup function to allow us to populate values into the actual fields here. So we can use database lookup tables to do this in the end once Halo releases that function. What that'll look like is we'll use this to trigger a database lookup that does a lookup of the can text and applies it to each field value based off what's necessary. So let's, for right now, we're going to leave this alone. We're not really going to mess with this part. This doesn't really get in the way, but we do still want that prepare quote function. So we're not going to mess with that function either. We want to be able to scope the project and then prepare the quote for ready. We can make it as part of one action, but it's still part, like right now, it's doing it as 2 things. One, we do the statement of work, which actually shows up here. And then 2, we did the executive summary, which shows up here. And then finally, the terms and conditions, which shows up here. So this is all configurable based off custom fields and things like that we were doing. And then we go through and what's interesting, though, is it looks like our switch changes did not actually get through. What happened here? I don't know if it's the same field. Let's see what shows up on the quote itself. Let's go through and raise the quote. And here we'll do a new quote. And I'm not going to bother throwing any items on it. Our key is to get it into that proposal, that PDF template, and then see what the PDF looks like, just to show you that example. We've already gone through some of this before. We'll do form of proposal. We'll do a generate PDF. And here we can see the PDF that populates, new quote, executive summary, statement of work. And that's basically it in terms of services. So the statement of work did not come across. Let's go see what happened there. Number one we want to do is we want to remove those rules because that value probably broke something. So we're going to come in here and we're going to say, I'm not going to delete it because the rule likely is going to, we may want it later on, but here I'm just going to say additional info equals to impossible. So this will never match and the rule won't fire. Now let's go forward and create a new ticket real quick and see what happens. So from scratch, if I'm here on my homepage, I go into my new ops area and I hit the new button and it hard codes me to the existing customer, it hard codes me to the opportunity type, and I enter my name for the Rising Tide 1 LLC company I created. I populate this new request details. And then we can choose type of opportunity and expected delivery date and just submit that. And then immediately I go to the scope project. This is a much simpler thing. I'm not setting a statement of work. I'm actually going to configure it from here. It actually looks like the statement of work is completely, can text is missing. I feel like I'm running into more and more bugs on this instance. What is going on? Let's come back here. Let's take a look. I'm still on the same instance, so that's good. So I bet you the can text option for sales is different than the can text option for tickets. No, they're both here. Okay, let's wrong one. Let's refresh this one. There we go. What the heck happened there? All right, new managed services. We'll come in here and we'll set this to switch install, and we'll say additional agents are Carrie and me, and we'll set the start date to November 1st, right after they sign. Let's go through and save that. And so now we've got the SOW tab, and we can see that the SOW tab is properly configured this time. So it was just the rule that was getting in the way before. And then if we go through and prepare the quote again, we'll see that template properly exists with the right settings. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, showing you how we can modify the workflow, we can create actions and make changes to the actions to simplify the process. One more thing I want to show you before we wrap this up is that we do have the ability to do a quick quote as well. Actually, let me show you some of the settings that I've adjusted so that you can mimic some of these things that I've done. And I'm going to undo one so that I can show you an actual quick quote, which is another built-in type of ticket that exists. So here I go to my configuration. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sales settings under general settings, and I'm going to tick the box, hide the default opportunity ticket area. When it's unselected, it actually shows the CRM or the sales or opportunities area, that's whatever name it is for you guys based off your language pack. I can tick the box and it hides it so that it's not visible, and then I have to make my own areas that exist. Okay, I'm going to unhide that for right now. And then if we go to the areas over here, I can go ahead and create a sales area, set that to a use of CRM. And then I configure the default ticket that is going to be used when creating a ticket in that area. So this way you don't have to choose lead, opportunity, whatever. You can literally just default it based off the area that they're in. And then I can go to ops and I can see that I chose opportunity for that. If I go into the tickets general settings, I can come here and say allow agents to choose ticket type when logging a new ticket. By unchecking that, I'm forcing them to use the default ticket type that's selected at the time of them hitting the new ticket button. Here's a caveat to that. This new ticket button will always be created outside of an area, and so I don't have the option of changing it in the event they hit that button. So we can maybe call that like a quick ticket button or something like that, but essentially they don't have the option of changing the ticket type if you have this deselected. However, if they're inside of an area, such as a service desk, projects, opportunity leads, it'll use the default ticket type that is configured in that area. And so you may want to build those out and turn off the new ticket button if you're disabling the setting. So that way they know if they want like a proactive ticket, they got to go to the knock board. If they want a reactive ticket, they got to go to the service desk board. If they want a project ticket, they got to go to the projects board. And when I say board, I mean these areas here. A board is the wrong terminology. It's part of ConnectWise terminology. but I'm talking about the actual areas in Halo that you can set up and configure here. Okay. The other last thing that we changed in these settings to make things a little bit quicker was most of the time, and this is going to be up to you, but most of the time the question is, are your opportunities that you're creating going to be new customers or existing customers? And you can change what the default's going to be here so you don't have to flip back and forth. If you're primarily doing existing customer sales, then you want it to be existing customer, and you can specify new customer as necessary. And then you can also update your default opportunity type here, your default ticket type here, for when you're inside the actual CRM area and hitting that new ticket button here, which right now is lead, and you don't have the option of changing it because I have that setting unchecked. So let me go actually recheck that setting. And we want to show you the last and final type of ticket that exists. There's a bunch of others in the system out of the box, but this one is a quick quote, and it's got a very simple workflow, so you can get an idea of quickly spinning up a quote and then going to a project at that point. Wow, I cannot talk and type at the same time. We're going to turn this on. We're going to go back to CRM. We're going to hit that new ticket, and now we have the ticket type dropdown. We're going to choose quick quote, and we're going to do existing customer, and we're going to assign it to Mendy. And now all we're asking for is information about the quote, summary, and details. And we're going to go ahead and submit that quick quote. And from there, we're just going to raise the quote directly. And we'll just do new server request. We can add the server product, which we can do one of, and we can select save, save. At this point, we have the quote basically created, and we can just generate the PDF, and we should be able to see that it's just a proposal for the server with terms and conditions, and that's it. Okay. From the point of accepting the quote, creating the sales order, mapping the project across the PO, all that stuff is exactly the same. We just took like a 10 or 15 step workflow. We trimmed it down to like an 8 or 9 step workflow, and then we showed you a 3-step workflow. So all of them perform the same function. You have complete customizations. I don't even know what the word is anymore. You have the ability to customize this completely. It's been a long day. I'm going to wrap this video up, and I hope you guys found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments below, and thank you again for watching.